a very blunt tool against an opposition such as Hezbollah. Is your strategy not working?
Well, let me tell you about one of the targets. One of the targets was a football field. But under that football field was a weapons storage bunker. So here again, in the heart of South Beirut, we have the Hezbollah under the guise of a football field with a combat area, namely a weapons storage bunker under a football field. So your reporters will go and they'll say, we just see a football field here. But indeed, as Hezbollah's way is, they store their missiles under football fields. So those are the targets. We are continuing to target Hezbollah assets in South Beirut and in, of course, South Lebanon, and we will continue to do so. This organization is very deeply entrenched throughout the south of the country, in South Beirut, and we are continuing to go after them.
There has been concern, hasn't there, about the civilian losses in Lebanon. I know the Human Rights Watch has said that Israel is not making a big enough effort to distinguish between civilians and Hezbollah fighters. What efforts are you making to make sure you know who you're targeting?
We are making a maximal effort. You have to understand that we're so far in the thousands of sorties, and every sortie, every target is analyzed in advance. But this is war. And this is war against a terrorist organization which uses civilian cover. They live inside these villages. They work from these villages. They store their missiles inside homes. They shoot from outside homes. So that's the situation that we're dealing with. We're dealing with a terrorist organization whose whole front is the civilian population. So it's not an easy task, but we're doing very well given the circumstances. And the other thing is, we've warned the civilians, please stay out of harm's way. If you know there's terrorist activity going on here, if this is a Hezbollah stronghold, please leave. And in fact, most of them have left.
Yeah, indeed, you've definitely been sending leaflets down, haven't you? What success do you think you've had so far? We heard Ehud Olmert earlier this week saying that key Hezbollah positions have been all but destroyed, and then the very next day, 220 rockets over. The next day, 150 rockets over. They're clearly still managing to target northern Israel from wherever they want to be.
Well, we have to make a distinction. We have dealt Hezbollah a heavy blow. There's no question about it. And we are continuing to deal it more and more blows until we weaken it to as much as possible. On the other hand, they still have capabilities. Ironically, we've had more success in stopping them with their long-range missiles, which are easier for us to track, than in those shorter-range Katyushas, which have caused such deadly harm to civilians yesterday.
Right. You are said to have secured some 20 villages now just inside southern Lebanon as part of these efforts to have a buffer or security zone, and yet a source we've spoken to on the border has said that none of them are really secure. How easy is it for you to take, 5 or 6 miles into the border with the forces that you have? Do you have enough manpower on the ground to do that?
We have enough manpower to do what we have to do, namely to go village by village, stronghold by stronghold, and wipe out the Hezbollah infrastructure. Remember, it's all hidden. We're dealing with subterranean bunkers and tunnels, and Hezbollah men who are there waiting for us, ready to ambush us. So it's a hard job. We need people on the ground to do it, but we're doing it slowly but surely, and the operation is commencing in a very, very satisfactory fashion.
But how realistic is it really to push up to the Litani River, sometimes up to 18 miles across the border?
Our mandate at the moment is to operate in the border area, namely 6 or 7 kilometers, about 3 miles from our border, and that's what we're doing. The villages, the Hezbollah strongholds that we're in now are in that area, and we are wiping them clear all across the border, wiping out Hezbollah strongholds all across the border. We need our time. We need to continue. We are winning this war, and we are getting rid, slowly but surely, of this terrible terrorist organization.
Mr. Dallal, I wonder if you could just stand by. Our correspondent who's based in Beirut would like to ask you a question. This is Ian Woods.
Yes, you've explained your logic in why you've been attacking the Lebanese, the south of the city where Hezbollah have their strongholds. I've just returned from Juni to the north of Beirut. It's a Christian area. 4 bridges north of there were destroyed. What's the logic in targeting an area where Hezbollah are not based?
That's an important question. In fact, Hezbollah is making a tremendous effort to restock restock its weapons. And part of our targeting the infrastructure is to disrupt the restocking and resupply of its weapons. They have, as I said, been dealt a heavy blow, and they want more missiles so that they can kill more Israelis. And we have to stop that in all ways possible, and including we have to stop the ways that they bring it into the country, namely through the transportation routes, which, unfortunately, they abuse for clearly military or terrorist purposes.
And is it just the roads which are being targeted? I mean, we saw one particular incident where two vehicles ended up badly damaged because of this. Are you sure that it was the vehicles which weren't being targeted, that it was perhaps targets within those vehicles that you were after, Hezbollah figures?
We are continuing our ongoing effort to attack Hezbollah people, to attack weapons trucks, to attack, of course, rocket launchers and missile launchers, and to attack those routes which facilitate the movement of these things. So that's our overall effort, and we have to keep it up. Unfortunately, Hezbollah hasn't stopped. Unfortunately, the Lebanese government hasn't reined them in, and so therefore we will continue in our concerted effort to debilitate and break down Hezbollah, and of course try to stop as much as possible the missile attacks on our country.
If these were important targets, why weren't they struck in the first 2 weeks of this campaign? Are you sure this is not simply just revenge attacks because of what is happening in northern Israel from rocket attacks?
Absolutely not. As we continue our operation, we gain more intelligence information. This is a developing situation. We get more targets. We understand better the evolving situation. Also, Hezbollah is using alternative routes, different ways to rearm and to regroup and to continue fighting us. Look, in the end of the day, you should be addressing the Hezbollah people wherever they are, the spokespeople wherever they are, wherever they're hiding, wherever they're not letting you see, and ask them, why are you firing from villages? Why are you bringing more weapons into the country through highways? What are you doing to your people, to the Lebanese people? These questions have to be asked to Hezbollah, which is making a ruin of Lebanon, which is a terrorist organization, which seeks our destruction. And in the end, if we get rid of them, it's not going to only be good for the million Israelis that are seeking shelter now. It's going to be good for the Lebanese people who are unfortunately bearing the brunt of the activities of this terrorist organization.
Ian, we'll get more from you in just a moment about what you've seen further north of Beirut. But Yaakov Dallal, can I just ask you about the ceasefire prospects? Obviously, talks are continuing at the United Nations Security Council. How confident is Israel that a ceasefire can be agreed within the next week? And would Israel abide by it? We heard Ehud Olmert earlier this week saying that a multinational force has to be deployed already, before.
That's a diplomatic question for our government to decide. What we are saying is the situation that took place 3 weeks ago, in which Hezbollah took over southern Lebanon, in which Hezbollah was deeply entrenched along our border, in which Hezbollah conducted an unprovoked attack and abducted 2 of our soldiers and killed 8, that situation, that infrastructure which was in place to facilitate that attack cannot be anymore. The south of Lebanon has to be free of Hezbollah. UN Security Council Resolution 1559, which calls on the Lebanese government to take control of the south, to disarm the Hezbollah, has to be implemented fully. That's been our demand from the beginning. That's the demand of the State of Israel, and we hope that with a weakened Hezbollah, the conditions will be ripe for such a resolution to be implemented.
So what are you saying exactly? Are you saying that your attacks would continue until Hezbollah was cleared from southern Lebanon, or would you allow a multinational force to do that job?
Again, our goals are clear, and the government will decide when it's appropriate for an international force or when it's appropriate to agree on diplomatic issues. What the Army's mandate is clear. Wipe Hezbollah out of the border area so the situation that was in place 3 weeks ago, where Hezbollah ruled the south of Lebanon, where Hezbollah was sitting on our border, won't recur, won't go back to the way it was in a month, in 2 months, in 6 months. That's our goal. We're dealing Hezbollah a blow. We're continuing to deal Hezbollah a blow, and hopefully the international community and the Lebanese government will take responsibility, bring forces down there, and get Hezbollah out for once and for all.
Yaakov Dallal.